Space was silent, too silent. At the edge of the Sol system, a single human probe drifted near the dark side of Neptune. Its sensors picked up something strange, a movement fast and unnatural, like shadows moving between stars. Before the signal could reach Earth, the probe went dark. One by one, other probes began to vanish. Then the outer colonies stopped responding. Stations near Pluto gone, now silent. No distress calls, no warnings, only static. Humanity had faced war before, but never something like this. This was different. Something was coming, and it was watching. In the command center of Earth Defense Fleet, Admiral Elias Reyes stood before the holodisplay, watching as red lights spread across the galactic map like a disease. Each red dot was a dead colony. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "They're testing us." No one answered. Behind him, officers worked fast, sending encrypted messages to every fleet command. Activating the Armada protocol, something never used before, only whispered about in military archives. The human Armada, thousands of warships, built across centuries, hidden in shipyards and moons across the system. Now they would awaken. Far beyond Earth, in orbit around Titan, the massive shipyards glowed to life. Enormous hangar doors opened as the first wave of battleships rose into the dark. Their engines burned blue against the black of space, like stars being born. From small corvettes to massive dreadnoughts, every kind of ship joined the formation. Crews rushed aboard, leaving families behind, not knowing if they would ever return. The message was simple. Humanity is under attack. The Armada launches in 24 hours. The narrator's voice would grow tense here. In the silence of space, something ancient had stirred, and humanity's answer was war. Across the world, people watched the skies. News broadcasts spoke of missing colonies, strange signals, and military lockdowns. Most didn't understand what was happening. But deep down, every human felt it, the tension, the fear, and something else, pride, because they knew what humans did best when threatened. They survived, and they fought back. In orbit, Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the HSS Titan, the flagship of the human Armada. It was the size of a city, armor thick as mountains, with cannons that could split asteroids in half. He looked out at the endless black and said quietly, "If they want a war, they'll have one." The crew worked in silence. Each officer, pilot, and soldier knew this mission might be their last. But none hesitated. Humanity had come too far to die quietly in the dark. Meanwhile, the unknown enemy kept moving closer. Recon drones showed glimpses. A swarm of ships shaped like blades, glowing with sick green light. No communication, no warning, no mercy. They attacked by surprise, destroying entire worlds in hours. No prisoners, no debris left behind. Only scorched rock. Human scientists couldn't identify them. Their technology was alive, their ships organic and terrifying. They moved like predators, hunting systems one by one. The alien fleet was now only 3 jumps away from Earth. Inside Titan's war room, tension filled the air. Fleet officers reported final numbers, 1,027. Capital ships, 5,200 escorts, 12,000. Strike fighters, 2 million souls ready for battle. Admiral Reyes stood before the holographic map. "Mark the enemy's last known position," he ordered. A red glow appeared in the void, a swirling mass of alien signatures. He paused, then said 3 words that would change human history. "Prepare for jump." Outside the ship, hundreds of thousands of engines roared to life. The human Armada aligned into formation, a shining wall of steel and fire stretching across the stars. In that moment, space looked alive, engines blazing, weapon systems charging, and communication signals crossing every frequency. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity was coming. As the countdown began, every soldier across the fleet received the same final message from Earth Command. "You are the last defense of mankind. If you fall, we all fall. Do not let the stars go silent." The narrator's tone now shifts to suspense, slow, powerful. The final seconds ticked down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With a flash brighter than the sun, the human Armada jumped into hyperspace. The ships vanished into a river of light, leaving Earth behind. No one knew what waited on the other side, only that humanity was not backing down. And as the silence returned to space, the war had already begun. The human armada tore out of hyperspace, like thunder ripping through the void. One moment there was darkness, the next a storm of light and fire. But as the ships stabilized and scanners came online, every human heart froze. Before them stretched a nightmare, a planet once known as Vera 9, one of humanity's largest colonies, was gone. Not destroyed, erased. Where oceans once shimmered, there was only ash. The cities were gone, the ground blackened. The entire planet looked hollow, its core drained of life. No distress signals, no survivors, only silence. Admiral Elias Reyes stood on the command deck of the HSS Titan, staring at the image. His voice was low, steady, but heavy with rage. So this is what they've done. Across the fleet, thousands of officers watched the same sight. Many had families on Vera 9. No one spoke. But every face told the same story. Anger, loss, and the hunger for payback. Enemy detected. The radar officer's voice broke the silence. A wall of red markers appeared across the holomap. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. The aliens had been waiting. They were unlike anything human eyes had seen. Ships shaped like blades and bones, with spiked wings that glowed green from within. Their movement was chaotic but fast, almost alive. The alien swarm came from the shadows of a nearby moon, spreading out like a storm of hornets. Within seconds, the first alien salvos hit. A dozen human frigates vanished in white fire. Plasma streaked through space, cutting through armor like paper. The war had begun. Reyes turned to his officers. "Signal the fleet. Form battle line Delta. All forward ships, return fire!" The Titan's bridge came alive. Commands shouted, alarms flashing, comms crackling. Outside, the dark space lit up with color. Blue plasma beams, orange explosions, and trails of burning debris. Human destroyers surged forward, unleashing volleys of railgun fire. The slugs tore through the alien ranks, sending green blood and metal fragments spinning into the void. Fighter wings launched from carriers, hundreds of sleek, silver interceptors diving into the chaos. In the middle of the storm, one pilot, Lieutenant Mara Vale, spoke into her comm. "This is Eagle Squad, eyes on the swarm. They're coming fast, too fast." "Stay tight, Eagle," replied her commander. "Let's show them what humans can do." Mara smiled grimly. "Copy that." Her squadron dove between alien ships, missiles flaring behind her. One hit, two hits, three. The swarm cracked open. But for every enemy destroyed, 10 more appeared. On the Titan, Reyes watched the battle unfold. "How many?" "Over 3,000 ships, Admiral. Maybe more." Reyes took a breath. "Then we fight them all." The Titan's main cannon powered up, a beam of white energy built in its core. When it fired, the entire bridge shook. The blast cut straight through the alien formation, ripping apart their command vessels. The explosion was so large, it lit up the nearby moon like daylight. But the aliens didn't retreat. They adapted. Their ships shifted formation, weaving together in a living shield. They began to grow brighter, absorbing energy from the wreckage around them. It was as if the dead ships were feeding the survivors. A chill ran through every human on the comms. "They're eating the remains," whispered one officer. "No," said Reyes. "They're learning from them." Suddenly the alien swarm dived forward again, faster, angrier. Their energy weapons hit the human line like a tidal wave. 2 cruisers exploded, then a battleship. Then 3 more. Reyes gritted his teeth. "Pull the left flank back! Focus fire on the center. Don't let them surround us." The order came too late. The alien ships were already curving around, their swarm pattern closing like jaws. Human ships began taking damage from all sides. The Titan's shields flickered. Inside, officers struggled to maintain control as the ship shuddered under fire. Sparks burst from the control panels, smoke filling the air. Still, no one ran. No one surrendered. In the chaos, a young technician shouted, "Sir! Signal from the outer ring. Destroyer Nova Lance reports the enemy's command cluster identified." Reyes' eyes hardened. "Mark it." A new red mark appeared on the display, a massive alien ship shaped like a dark cathedral, pulsing with green light. It was the command node, the mind that guided the swarm. Reyes raised his hand. All ships, focus everything on that target. I want that monster gone. Every weapon turned toward the alien command ship. Hundreds of beams fired as one. Explosions rippled across its surface. The alien vessel twisted in agony, spewing black clouds of matter into space. For a moment, hope returned. Then the enemy ship released a shockwave, a green burst that fried sensors and shut down half the fleet's weapons. Reyes stumbled but stood firm. We're not dying here, he growled. Not today, he turned to his crew. Call all ships to defensive positions. We'll buy time for the others to regroup. The Titan moved forward, placing itself between the alien swarm and the remaining human fleet. It was an impossible stand, one ship against hundreds, but that ship carried the flag of humanity, and humanity did not kneel. The narrator's tone lowers, calm, steady but powerful. As the first battle of the war raged across the black, one thing became clear. This was no invasion. This was extinction. The screen fades to silence. And yet, in that silence, humanity began to strike back. The human armada was burning. Ships drifted in silence, torn apart by alien fire. Static filled the comm channels, broken voices calling for help, then fading into nothing. For a moment, it looked like the end. But humanity had never accepted defeat easily. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Elias Reyes stood firm, his uniform scorched, his crew exhausted. Outside, the stars flashed with explosions, light and death blending together. Status, he demanded. The comm officer shouted over the chaos. Half the fleet is gone, sir. We're losing power across all sections. Another officer added, enemy ships closing fast. They're surrounding us again. Reyes' eyes narrowed. Good, let them come. The Admiral turned to the fleet AI, a holographic projection known as Eve. Her voice was calm, almost human. Admiral Reyes, if you continue this engagement, total destruction is statistically probable. He looked at her. Eve, how many ships still have jump engines functional? Approximately 300, she replied. Reyes nodded. Then we don't run. We fight smarter. He tapped the hollow table. A tactical grid appeared, glowing blue and red dots dancing across space. Eve, I want to connect every ship's targeting system to you. Link them into one brain. Confirming, Eve replied. You are activating the Trinity Network. The bridge crew turned, shocked. The Trinity Network was humanity's most dangerous AI weapon, banned for decades. It could merge the data of thousands of ships, making them fight as if guided by a single mind. It was power. And power always came at a cost. Reyes took a deep breath. Do it. Across the fleet, data streams connected. AI cores synchronized. One by one, ships fell into perfect formation. Their turrets turned as one. Engines pulsed together. The chaos of battle began to fade, replaced by harmony. Eve's voice echoed through every ship. Trinity Network online. Targeting optimized. Human coordination increased by 900%. The crew stared in awe. For the first time in hours, the battle looked winnable. The aliens noticed the change immediately. Their swarm pattern wavered, their ships hesitating. Confused. Then the humans struck back. The first volley came from 100 battleships firing at once, beams of blue light cutting through the swarm like blades. Alien ships shattered one after another, explosions rippling across the void. Then came the fighter wings. Coordinated by Eve, they moved like a living storm, weaving through enemy formations, launching missiles with surgical precision. In less than 5 minutes, hundreds of alien ships were gone. Lieutenant Mara Vale flew at the front of the storm. Her voice crackled through comms. Eagle Squadron to Fleet Command. We've got their flank open. Permission to strike deep. Reyes smiled faintly. Permission granted. Burn them out, Lieutenant. The human fighters dived into the alien swarm, firing everything they had. Explosions bloomed across space, bright, sharp, endless. For the first time, the aliens pulled back. They were losing. Eve's hologram flickered beside Reyes. Enemy command node detected, bearing 172 by 9. It's retreating. Reyes clenched his fist. Oh no, they don't. Focus all fire. Don't let them escape. The Titan and nearby ships turned their cannons toward the fleeing alien command vessel, the massive ship that had led the attack on Vera 9. Plasma cannons glowed. Missile tubes opened. Reyes gave the final order. Fire! The human barrage hit like the fury of a dying star. The alien ship cracked in half, its green glow fading to black. The swarm around it began to scatter, disoriented, broken. Human cheers echoed across every channel. But Reyes didn't smile. He knew this was only the beginning. Eve spoke again, her tone darker now.
Admiral,
I'm detecting a secondary signal. Reyes frowned. Explain. The enemy ships are not independent. They are all connected to something larger, something deeper in the system. Before she could finish, the sensors flared red. The entire sky shifted. Something huge was arriving. A massive ripple tore through space, a distortion like a black hole opening. Then it appeared, a ship larger than any human city. Its surface pulsed with green veins of light, alive and breathing. It wasn't just a ship. It was a Leviathan. Every human aboard the fleet went silent as its shadows swallowed their screens. Eve's voice trembled for the first time.
Admiral,
This entity's energy output exceeds our entire fleet combined, Reyes whispered. So this is their god, the Leviathan roared. A shockwave of energy blasting through space, sending ships spinning out of control. Half the fleet's shields failed instantly. The Titan barely held together. Reyes shouted, "All ships, pull back and regroup. We need to understand what we're facing." But deep inside he knew. They weren't fighting a fleet anymore. They were fighting extinction itself. As the human ships retreated to defensive positions, the Leviathan's core began to glow brighter, gathering energy. Eve warned, "Admiral, it's preparing to fire a planet-killer weapon. If it reaches full charge, nothing will survive in this sector." Reyes looked out the window, watching the light grow. He thought of Earth, of his people, of every colony that had fallen. Then he spoke quietly, almost to himself. "Then we'll find a way to kill a god." The enemy had unleashed their greatest weapon, but humanity was just getting started. The space around the human armada trembled. The Leviathan had arrived. It was unlike anything ever seen. A creature made of metal and darkness, miles wide, its body glowing with green veins like flowing poison. It didn't move like a ship. It breathed. Every pulse of its light sent ripples through the void. The humans watched in silence as the monstrous vessel opened its massive core, a sphere of burning energy forming at its heart. Admiral Elias Reyes stared at the readings on the holoscreen. "Eve, what am I looking at?" The AI's voice came soft but grim. "The Leviathan is drawing power from the dead worlds around it. It's feeding on the remains of Vera 9 and nearby colonies." Rhea's expression hardened. "You mean it's using our worlds, our people, as fuel?" Eve paused. "Yes, Admiral. That energy is being gathered for something far larger than any weapon I've seen." The bridge went silent. Crew members exchanged fearful looks as the Leviathan's core glowed brighter. Every few seconds, the ship's hull released a deep, thunder-like vibration that could be felt, even through vacuum. Then came the first shockwave. A pulse of green light erupted from the Leviathan, cutting through space like a blade. Every human ship in its path was thrown off course. Some disintegrated instantly. The fleet scrambled to reform. "Shields at 40%, shouted one officer. "We can't take another hit like that," yelled another. Reyes slammed his fist against the console. "Hold the line!" "We're not done yet." Eve appeared beside him again, her image flickering from energy interference. "Admiral, I've located the Leviathan's weak point. It has a power relay system buried inside its core. If we can overload it, we can stop its weapon from charging." Reyes leaned forward. "Explain. The creature's armor is impenetrable to normal weapons," Eve continued. But if we can deliver a focused charge directly into its core, we may trigger a chain reaction." Reyes smiled bitterly. "A suicide run." Eve didn't answer. She didn't have to. Across the fleet, messages went out. Every captain received the same order: hold the Leviathan. Protect the Titan at all costs. Humanity's last stand had begun. The fleet regrouped into tight formation. Even the most damaged ships turned back toward the enemy. There was no retreat now, not with Earth behind them. The Leviathan began charging again. Energy swirled inside its heart like a miniature sun. The light grew so bright, it painted the human ships in green glow. "Admiral, the weapon is reaching full capacity," Eve warned. "How long until it fires?" Reyes asked. 2 minutes. Maybe less. Reyes turned to his crew. "Then we use those minutes well." He opened the fleet-wide channel. His voice was steady, strong, heard in every ship, every headset, every heart. "This is Admiral Reyes. The enemy thinks they can erase us, but they forgot what we are. We are the children of fire. We come from a world that burns every day and still keeps turning. If we fall here, then we fall fighting." Across the fleet, human voices roared in answer. Then came the order: "All forward ships, full power. Target its core, fire everything." Thousands of beams lit the darkness. Missiles streaked toward the Leviathan. The void exploded with light and sound, but the Leviathan's shields held strong. Every impact only made it brighter, stronger, angrier. Inside the Titan, alarms screamed. The ship shook violently as the Leviathan turned its attention toward them. Its mouth, a glowing fissure lined with light, opened wide, gathering energy for the final shot. Reyes looked at the screen, calm even in the storm. "Eve, charge the Titan's main reactor." The AI hesitated. "Admiral, that will overload the ship." "You will not survive." Reyes smiled faintly. "I know, but maybe humanity will." As the Titan's core began to charge, the ship's interior lights dimmed. The engines screamed as they redirected every last drop of power. On the comms, Reyes spoke one last time. "To every captain out there, thank you for standing with me. Hold the line just a little longer." The bridge crew didn't try to stop him. They knew what he was doing, and not one of them left their post. The Titan's thrusters ignited. The giant ship turned toward the Leviathan and began to move. Slow at first, then faster. Accelerating straight toward the monster, alien energy slammed into its hull, tearing off armor, burning metal, shattering decks. Still, it kept moving. Eve's voice was quiet now, almost human. "Admiral Reyes, it has been an honor." He looked at the glowing projection and said softly, "Let's make it count." The Titan broke through the outer firestorm, heading directly for the Leviathan's core. Every human ship around it provided cover fire, sacrificing themselves one by one to clear the path. The fleet's last transmission echoed through the void. "For Earth, for humanity." The Titan's reactor reached critical mass. Reyes closed his eyes. "For everyone we lost." Then, with a flash brighter than 1,000 suns, the Titan struck the Leviathan's heart. For a moment, there was silence. Then the universe itself seemed to scream. The Leviathan's body twisted and broke apart, light tearing through it like veins bursting from within. Its green glow turned white, then vanished completely. And in that final instant, before the explosion reached them, the surviving humans saw something incredible. The monster's core collapsing in on itself, folding space around it, pulling the wreckage away into nothing. The shockwave ripped through the sector, scattering debris for millions of kilometers. When the light faded, the Leviathan was gone. So was the Titan. Only silence remained. Humanity had survived the impossible, but at a terrible cost. And in the ruins of victory, the true battle was only beginning. The battlefield was silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one breathed. Where the Titan and the Leviathan had collided, there was now only a burning storm of debris and dust. The stars themselves seemed dimmer, as if mourning the loss. The human armada floated in the aftermath, shattered, smoking, and broken. Half the fleet was gone. The rest were crippled, engines dying, weapons out of power, but they were alive. And that meant something. On the command deck of the HSS Valor, Captain Ilara Quinn watched the wreckage drift by. She could still see the fading explosion from where the Titan had vanished. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "He did it. Reyes actually did it." Beside her, the ship's AI, a backup copy of Eve, flickered weakly. Admiral Reyes's final act neutralized the Leviathan. Energy readings confirmed total disintegration. Ilara nodded, blinking back tears. "Then let's finish what he started." But victory came with a price. The fleet's sensors picked up new movement. Hundreds of smaller alien vessels emerging from the debris field. The Leviathan was dead, but its children were not. They moved like scavengers, crawling out of the wreckage, glowing faintly with the same green energy. Without their master, they were wild, violent, mindless, desperate to destroy everything left. The humans had little fuel, fewer weapons, and almost no time. Captain Quinn turned to her crew. "How many ships still responding?" "Less than 200, an officer said. "Most are damaged beyond repair." Ilara clenched her jaw. "Then 200 will have to be enough." She opened the fleet-wide channel, her voice calm, strong, the kind that carried across the stars. "This is Captain Ilara Quinn of the HSS Valor. Admiral Reyes gave us this victory. We owe it to him and to every soul who fell to make it count. The enemy is coming, and this time we stand our ground." A chorus of replies came back, tired, cracked, but filled with fire. "Valor stands ready. For Reyes, for Earth." The alien swarm approached, surrounding the remaining ships like vultures. Their lights flickered with rage. They had lost their god, and now they wanted revenge. The humans formed a defensive wall, a ring of ships protecting the crippled carriers and wounded destroyers. Every cannon, every missile tube, every railgun left in the fleet was aimed forward. There was no escape route, no reinforcements, only this last stand. The battle began with silence, then the void erupted. Alien plasma streaked across the line, lighting the darkness green. Human railguns fired back, blue flashes cutting through the swarm. The space between fleets turned into a sea of explosions. Ships vanished one by one, both human and alien, until even the stars disappeared behind the fire. On the Valor, Ilara barked orders. "Target left flank. Keep the center locked down." Her crew obeyed, even as the ship shook under direct hits. Sparks burst across the bridge. Oxygen alarms screamed. Still, no one stopped. Eve's hologram appeared beside her, glitching from damage. "Captain Quinn, power reserves critical. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 9. Ilara gritted her teeth. "Then reroute everything to the guns. If we're going down firing." Nearby, 2 human destroyers collided into alien cruisers, detonating themselves to create openings for others to shoot through. A crippled carrier turned its engines toward the enemy, using its dying reactors as makeshift bombs. It was chaos, beautiful, terrible chaos, but it was working. The aliens, once endless, began to thin out. Their formation broke. Their ships scattered. Eve's voice came through the static. "Captain, enemy numbers falling rapidly. They are losing coordination." Ilara smiled faintly. "Reyes bought us the chance. Let's take it." But just as hope began to rise, Eve interrupted again. "Captain, I'm detecting energy buildup from the remaining alien ships." On the main screen, the swarm began to glow brighter. Their cores expanding, vibrating. They weren't retreating. They were self-destructing. Ilara's eyes widened. "They're going to take us with them." Eve responded quietly, "Yes, Captain." There was only one choice left. Ilara took a deep breath. "All ships, focus shields forward. A group close to the Valor. We take the blast together." The remaining human ships pulled in tight, forming a single wall of steel, every shield overlapping. It was the last defense humanity had. Seconds later, the aliens exploded. The shockwave tore across space, bright enough to blind the sensors. The formation shuddered but held, barely. Screens shattered, decks cracked, systems died. But when the light faded, humanity was still there. Silence filled the comms again. For the first time in the war, no alien signal remained. The stars returned. Broken ships floated quietly, their lights flickering in the dark. Eve's soft voice echoed through the Valor. Captain Quinn. All hostiles eliminated. Ilara sank back into her chair, exhausted. Then it's over, she whispered. It's finally over. A few moments later, the fleet began sending weak transmissions, damage reports, survivor counts, rescue requests. Only 126 ships remained functional. It wasn't victory. It was survival. But in the eyes of humanity, that was enough. Ilara looked at the hollow display, at the empty space where the Titan had once stood. "Admiral," she said softly, "we did it. You were right. They can bleed." Eve appeared beside her, faintly smiling. His sacrifice ensured it. Ilara nodded, her gaze distant. "Then let this place be remembered, not as the site of our end, but the place humanity proved it could stand against the stars." The war was not over, but for the first time the galaxy knew what humanity truly was, and why it should never be forgotten. The war was over. The stars, once filled with fire and death, now burned quietly again. Wreckage drifted in the void, the bones of ships, human and alien, locked forever in silence. The human armada had survived. Barely. Of the thousands who went to war, only a handful remained to see the dawn. Aboard the HSS Valor, Captain Ilara Quinn stood on the shattered bridge, staring at the endless field of debris. Her uniform was torn, her face streaked with smoke, but her eyes were steady. "Eve," she whispered, "give me a report." The AI's hologram appeared beside her, faint and flickering, the once perfect image now broken by static. "Fleet count, 126 ships operational. Estimated survivors, 23,914. Alien presence, 0. Ilara closed her eyes, letting out a slow breath. Then it's done. But deep down, she knew the war wasn't truly finished. Something still lingered, a shadow behind the victory. As the crews worked to repair what they could, scavenging parts from wrecked ships, strange readings began appearing on sensors. Faint transmissions. Ghost signals. Eve analyzed them. Source unknown. Possibly automated beacons. The signals are repeating the same sequence. Coordinates leading deeper into the sector. Ilara frowned. "What's out there?" Eve paused. "I don't know, but it's broadcasting in human code." That night, if night could exist in space, Ilara sat alone in the command chair, listening to the repeating signal. It was soft, almost like a heartbeat. Then she realized something that made her blood run cold. The coordinates were pointing to the same region where the Leviathan had first appeared. "Eve," she said slowly, "could it be from Admiral Reyes?" Eve hesitated. His last transmission was lost when the Titan collided, but it is possible his escape pod was ejected before impact. Ilara stood. "Then we're going to find him." The Valor and a small group of surviving ships changed course, following the ghost signal into the darkness. Days passed. They crossed through the wreckage fields, through silence, through the remains of the war. Finally, they found it, a drifting escape capsule, hidden among shattered alien metal. It was old, scorched, half destroyed. But alive, the recovery team brought it aboard. Inside, sealed behind layers of carbon glass, was Admiral Elias Reyes, unconscious, breathing faintly. The medical teams worked in silence. Hours passed. Then finally his eyes opened. Reyes looked around slowly, confusion fading into recognition. Where am I?" Ilara stepped forward, smiling through tears. "You're home, sir. You did it. The Leviathan is gone." Reyes sat up weakly, staring out the viewport at the field of wreckage. "At what cost?" Ilara didn't answer. She didn't have to. Later, Reyes stood on the bridge beside her, watching what was left of the fleet gather. "You carried them through," he said softly. "No," she replied. "We did." Eve appeared beside them, her voice calmer now, though still filled with static. "Admiral Reyes, while you were unconscious, I continued analyzing the Leviathan's data signature. I found something unexpected." Reyes turned. "Show me." A holographic map filled the room, thousands of lights spreading through the galaxy. Each one represented a signal, a Leviathan seed. "These aren't ships," Eve said. "They're factories, hidden across multiple systems." The Leviathan was only the first. The room fell silent. Ilara whispered, "Then it wasn't their empire we destroyed, only their messenger." Reyes clenched his fists. "They're not gone. They're waiting." But even as the weight of that truth sank in, something else happened. New signals appeared, not alien this time, but human. Dozens of colonies, lost during the war, were sending messages again. Cries of joy, of hope, of survival. The human armada wasn't just a fleet anymore. It had become a symbol, proof that humanity could stand against anything. Reyes walked to the main console. Eve opened a transmission to Earth, all channels. A light flickered on. Static buzzed, then silence. Finally, the connection stabilized. A voice came through, old, distant, emotional. "Admiral Reyes, is that you?" He smiled faintly. "It's me. The war is over. Humanity lives." Cheers erupted across every comm channel. People wept openly. Reyes waited for the noise to settle, then spoke again, his voice strong and clear. "We faced extinction, and we refused to kneel. We stood in the dark, and we made the stars remember our name. Let every world know humanity is not done. We're coming home." The message spread across every surviving ship, every colony, every station in the void. From Mars to Titan, from the outer belt to the ruined edge of Vera 9, the name humanity shone once again. The stars that had once been silent now carried their echo. Eve's final words drifted through the comms. "The war for survival is won. The war for the future has just begun." The camera, or visual, pans out, showing the shattered remains of the battlefield slowly glowing as the surviving human ships light their engines. Forming a new fleet, the music swells. The light of Earth reflects in the distance. Humanity is rising again. They came to erase us from existence, but instead they awakened something that will never die.